Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. 2 videos in one day, who would have thought it? But this video is a quick little preview for Mauricio Lara versus Leigh Wood, the rematch. This fight goes down on this weekend on the 27th of May. Takes place in the Manchester Arena in England, and it will be televised on DAZN both in the UK and the USA. Again, this is a fight in which I'm looking forward to. Mauricio Lara, if you've been following this channel for any length of time, I've been beating the drum for this guy to get his opportunity. I felt he got hard done by in regards to the Warrington situation. And for a while it seemed like he was being isolated, being kept away from the big fights. But he finally got one of those fights back in February of this year when he knocked out Leigh Wood in his hometown of Nottingham. It was a really fun fight. Many people felt that Leigh Wood was winning that fight before he got stopped. But Mauricio Lara, good chin. He soaked up what Leigh Wood had to offer. He kept that mental pressure on him and eventually knocked him out in the 7th round with a beautiful left hook. Ben Davison ended up throwing in the towel. Now this fight is interesting because this sort of rematch rarely happens in boxing in 2023 in the modern era. Leigh Wood got stopped on the 18th of February 2023 by Mauricio Lara. He's now rematching him on the 27th of May 2023, just over a 3-month gap between both fights, basically 3 months. That is unheard of in modern boxing, to get knocked out and then rematch that guy just about 3 months later. That is almost unheard of. I can't remember such a quick rematch happening, especially when a guy's been knocked out, been stopped. That, yeah, I mean, when you look at it, it's quite shocking, really, isn't it? You just don't see it. But could that play a factor on this fight, potentially? 3 months is not a long time to recover from the trauma, both mental and physical, of getting knocked out, and I think that could be a huge factor in this fight. When a guy gets knocked out like that, it's very rare he wins the rematch anyway. I know in recent times, Kovalev got knocked out by Elidia Alvarez, and he came back well and won the rematch, boxed a really good fight. But this is such a short turnaround. I'm not convinced that Leigh Wood can jump those psychological hurdles before he goes into this rematch. Not only that, is there any physical side effects to coming back so soon after getting stopped like that? Who knows, but it's a ballsy move from Leigh Wood, and listen, I'll give him credit for taking this fight that soon after getting knocked out. Fair play to him. Leigh Wood, he needs to build on what he was doing first time around. He was adopting the boxer-puncher mode, the boxer-puncher role. His straight punches were quite effective against Mauricio Lara first time around. The jab was finding the target on Lara. Lara was coming in square. And at times it looked like Leigh Wood was getting Lara's respect. There's a couple of rounds in there where Lara looked like he was getting tired and maybe Leigh Wood was starting to get on top. But, Lara being Lara, he's always got that good chin to rely on so he can soak up shots. But more importantly, he's always got that power, and we saw that in that fight, I felt Leigh Wood was starting to take control, but Lara just caught up to him. I think Leigh Wood squared his feet, if I remember correctly, held his feet, squared himself up, and Lara catches him with the left hook. Now he knows going into this rematch, Leigh Wood, that yes, he's got the boxing ability and dare I say the power to keep Lara somewhat honest and maybe even outbox him in certain rounds. He's got enough. I think he probably looks at that first fight and thinks to himself, I've got the skills to outbox Lara, but I was arguably doing that first time around and I still got knocked out. Going into this rematch with that in mind, it's going to be even more mental pressure to stay perfect. Therefore, he's going to be burning a lot more nervous energy to stay away from Lara and not make those same mistakes. Otherwise, he knows what the outcome could be. There's a lot of mental pressure on Leigh Wood in this fight. In regards to the style in which he should fight, I mean, listen, he made a mistake in the first fight and got knocked out, but ultimately, he needs to do what he does best, and that is be the boxer puncher. You know, he needs to get behind a solid jab, look for the long straight right hand against the pressure guy in Lara. Lara's a guy who likes to load up with hooks and lead with hooks more so than a jab. And again, when you're fighting that sort of guy, straight punches can really be effective. So he needs to be looking for the same sort of shots again, trying to keep it at arm's length, taking the half step back, measuring with the jab, and timing Mauricio Lara coming in. But ultimately, in this fight, unlike the first fight, there were times when Leigh Wood decided to exchange with Lara, and he had success. He had success in doing that, but it always gave Lara that chance to land a big shot. In this fight, I think Leigh Wood, once again, needs to use that boxer-puncher style, but he can't afford to get as greedy as he did first time around. I think there were times in that first fight where Leigh Wood felt himself he was getting to Lara. As a result, I think he naturally dropped his caution, he dropped his guard, he took a few too many risks, and he paid for it. This time around, he needs to be disciplined in regards to when to attack, when not to attack, when to step out at distance, when to maintain range, etc. He needs to be a lot more cautious, he needs to be a lot more disciplined without being a back foot runner, you know, because that's not Leigh Wood's style, and Lara more than likely can chase him down if he does that. So really for Leigh Wood, it's about adjusting, it's about concentration, it's about discipline to carry out a 12-round game plan. I think the game plan is there for Leigh Wood. He needs to do what he was doing in several rounds of the first fight, without getting so greedy, essentially. I don't think Leigh Wood can really change much in that short space of time. He needs to utilise what he does do well, and what he does do well was giving Lara trouble in the first fight. So he needs to stick to that, but be a bit more cautious, be a bit more selective when he does his thing, when he throws, etc., and not take so many risks. As for Lara, I hope he's been working on his conditioning, because in that first fight, at times, it looked like Lara was tiring out a little bit until he landed that shot. And maybe that was because he was getting caught a lot coming in early in that fight. He got caught with a lot of shots. So I want to see Lara make a couple of adjustments. I want to see Lara move that head a little more. You know, maybe utilise a guard, pay a bit more attention to defence. And also, you know, give Leigh Wood different looks as you're coming in. Lara wasn't really jabbing his way in that first fight. He was doing it in the first Warrington fight at times. I want to see more of that from Lara. I want to see him try to utilise that jab to close distance and then set up attacks. I think Lara adding a consistent jab to his game could make him a much more effective fighter. We saw similar when Marcus Maidana went to Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia never reinvented the wheel, but what he did do was add a consistent jab to Maidana's game. And despite as unrefined as Maidana was, that jab made him so much more effective. I want to see something similar from Mauricio Lara. I want to see him incorporate that jab to close distance and set up power punches. And maybe when he's closed distance, I want to see Lara actually work the body of Leigh Wood. From recollection of the first fight, Lara didn't do as much body work as I expected on Leigh Wood, the taller guy, the more upright guy. I want to see more of that in this second fight from Lara. I want to see a more prolonged body attack on Leigh Wood. But regardless, this fight is really interesting for many reasons. First and foremost, the first fight was entertaining. Both guys carry power. You know, you've got a boxer-puncher in Leigh Wood versus a pressure fighter in Mauricio Lara. Neither guy pussyfoots around. It's a really good fight, plus the psychological aspect of this fight in regards to Leigh Wood coming off a knockout so quickly. That could play a big factor. On the flip side, maybe Lara goes in overconfident, thinking all he has to do is land one shot. It's a really interesting fight, but given the turnaround, given how the first fight ended, I'm going to go for a similar result. I'm going to go for Mauricio Lara by knockout in rounds 7 to 9. I think it's going to be a similar result. I think it's going to be a similar fight. Both guys are going to have success, but ultimately, I just expect Mauricio Lara to outlast Leigh Wood in this bout. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if Leigh Wood pulls it off. It's one of those fights. Really good fight, man. Really good fight. Anyway, share your thoughts below. It's been your guy, Del Boy. Peace.